Happy Thursday, everyone. Welcome. We're here to discuss some WandaVision. Episode 7 goes live in just under 8 hours now. So super excited for that. We're going to be discussing the trailer that they dropped today. Super excited. They gave us some clues, some Easter eggs to break down. And it's time to bring back the Thursday streams, right? If we're going to be getting WandaVision and Winter Soldier and Falcon and Loki on Fridays, we better talk about it on Thursdays and get hyped. So I'm Kyle. I'm your host, Fandom Media here. I hope all of you Fandalorians are having a fantastic, or should I say marvelous week so far. And how have you guys all been enjoying WandaVision so far? We're going to break down the trailer, but I just kind of want to get a 1. Put a 1 if you're really enjoying it. Put a 2 if it's it's okay. And 3 if you think it could be better. But I'm loving it so far. So yeah, I'm kind of curious to see all of your reactions and see how you're enjoying it. We got Tinkerbell spamming the new Wanda emoji. By the way, for those of you that joined, we now have Cap Shield and the new Wanda emoji. So that's pretty cool. If you join up, you get those little perks there. But yeah, we're going to basically what's going to happen for this stream. There was a promo trailer that dropped today for episode 7. It didn't reveal a ton, but it revealed some about the episode. We're going to break that down. We'll go over each slide through the trailer. We're going to break down the promo. And then what we'll do after that is we'll switch. We'll talk about some theories. I want to talk about Monica. I want to talk about the Aerospace Engineer that she's been in contact with. I want to talk a little bit about Hayward, the X-Men, and who Hayward could be. We can talk about that. And maybe talk about some Avengers showing up. So what we'll do is we'll do the trailer breakdown for the first part of it, and then we'll jump into some theory crafting. And I see all ones in chat, and that makes me really happy. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch over. We're going to watch the trailer together, and we're going to break it down. All right, let's switch over. All right, I just need to go into here, and let's go check out the trailer, make it here, and let's do this. Make sure this is loud enough for everyone, and let's watch the trailer.
Look, we've all been there, right? Letting our fear and anger get the best of us, intentionally expanding the borders of the false world we created.
I don't know about that. Ooh, hexagon patterns on the blanket. I like that.
Mom, are you coming down soon? Mom, our game is freaking out.
Oh shit, it went back. Oh, it went back in time.
Is she asleep?
Mommy's not sleeping, honey. She's just resting her eyes.
Mom, my head feels weird.
Oh man.
It's really noisy. I don't like it.
His powers are making him feel strange, I should say.
As punishment for my reckless evening, I plan on taking a quarantine-style staycation.
Staycation? It's got the mockumentary feel of the modern family.
Just myself.
Type of thing going on with the era.
That'll show me.
In the sitcoms, right? So this must be right after Halloween too, and Vision is not there. 2 different pillows, I noticed that. All right, so that was a little bit of a teaser, everyone. We're gonna rewind it all the way back here, and let's go through it again. So pretty interesting. First thing that I did notice is we'll go through this. Wanda seems to be, things seem to be falling apart for her, huh? Obviously she freaked out at the end of episode 6. We saw Pietro make an antagonizing comment to her saying, hey, your husband can't die twice, right? And we saw in episode 5, Hayward was also being antagonistic towards Wanda, right? He wanted to shoot first and ask questions later, which is kind of odd considering we don't know much about this guy. I think that's pretty suspect. But we have not only the expansion of the Hex, but the expansion of Wanda's grief and anger. So yeah, first thing I notice, hexes within hexes on the blankets here. That's and she says, what does she say again? One sec.
We've all been there, right?
We've all been there, right? We've all had time. She's in a house coat. She's clearly exhausted. She feels, probably tired with everything that's going on. She's experienced so much friggin' tragedy, right? So yeah, I think that, she's like, we've all been there. We've all felt this shitty before, right? And I don't know if I could say that I agree with her assessment. I don't know if I've been quite as far as her, but that's what she's trying to get across. Let's continue.
Letting our fear and anger get the best of us.
Yeah, like letting our fear and anger get the best of us. The pandemic definitely took a toll on our mental health in 2020, and it's still going on now. And there's all sorts of other things that are going on in the world, right? Like presenting this question of, hey, it's kind of making an excuse a little bit for her actions, right?
Intentionally expanding the borders of the false world we created.
And she's going even further. That feels like a bit of a tell, you know what I mean? Intentionally expanding the borders of the false reality that we've created. So she's saying that she created it, but I still think there's a third party, and we'll get into that. And then we have this moment with the conga music. And we see the Hex swallowing them up. You know what I find is really funny about this? Like, look at this. This is pretty rad. What I find really funny about this is we saw at the end of episode 6, we saw the Hex expanding, right? We saw the Hex expanding, and we saw Darcy swallowed up by it, and we saw like mutes and clowns. And I don't know if that's kind of a subtle jab at Sword, because Wanda didn't like Hayward very much, and he's been acting very militaristic and douchey so far. I haven't liked him at all. So I don't know if they're gonna, if Wanda is gonna turn all of the Sword agents into clowns, but that would be a funny kind of change for them, right? Getting absorbed by the Hex and getting tortured and insulted by being called clowns for what they've been trying to do. And then we have Wanda here again. She's just like, oh man, I've had she's just like so fed up with her situation, right? And this is so crazy. Like this clearly looks like the Mind Stone to me, right? And then there's other stones here, but this is a hexagon within a hexagon, and they all connect. And I'm not, maybe, that's her, and this is her within the hexagon, but that's clearly a nod to some of the symbolism of hexagons and the hex, what the hex actually means. I still think Agatha Harkness is playing a big role. I think that, and I'll get to this in a second, I think that she's going to play a bigger role specifically in this episode, and I actually think we might get a pretty big reveal with her.
Mom, are you coming down soon?
So Billy and Tommy, they're concerned. We have Rickon and Speed.
Mom, our game is freaking out.
So their game is freaking out. They're presenting, I find this really interesting. They're saying, hey, Wanda, Mom, there's something going on here. Something isn't right. Like, our game is freaking out. And this is clearly like, I think this is what? This is Nintendo Switch. So Nintendo Switch, and then it's going back in time. Like, it's reverting back in time. This is Nintendo GameCube controllers. I would know because I'm a gamer and I used to own all of these consoles. But it's like reverting back in time, right? Like, that's pretty weird. Doesn't everyone think that's pretty weird? I don't know. I do. I think that Wanda is losing control over the Hex, I think. And this is what it's implying. And then boom, like, that's a pretty big... I mean, these are Atari joysticks. That's, one of the very first gaming systems. So to continue going back in time, and what we've seen so far, like within the parameters of the Hex of how things work, is we've seen Billy and Tommy just like aged within the snap of a finger, right? So this is pretty interesting what's going on here. And then we got Uno. It turns into Uno. Like, what the hell? Like, who doesn't love a good name of Uno, right? A good game of Uno, right? How many of you love Uno in the chat, by the way? It's like, we used to play all the time at like family gatherings and stuff like that. Just get an intense matchups of Uno. So yeah, their game systems are completely obsolete, and now they're back to Uno, which is like an older game.
Is she asleep?
So that's a pretty interesting question.
Mommy.
Is she asleep? right? We had Nightmare brought up a couple times in the last episode, and me and Hacks Dogma Chris, who you may know, we do the Marvel podcast together every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We talked about how the word nightmare was specifically mentioned twice, but and by two really interesting characters, by the way, who I think are working together. Director Hayward and whoever Pietro is. I don't think that's Pietro. We're going to get into that because there's a bit of a spoiler with a Funko Pop, a little bit of detective work we did with that. But yeah, are you sleeping? Are you dreaming? Like, that's a question, right? Like, what's going on with you, Mom? Like, do you know what's really going on?
Mommy's not sleeping, honey.
Mommy's not sleeping. And then she has the answer, right? She's like, no, I'm not sleeping. I'm just wallowing in, my grief.
She's just resting her eyes.
Just resting
Mom,
her eyes.
My head feels weird.
And then we have the statement from Billy, who's going to become Wiccan. And what's really interesting with him is the name Wiccan, the implication that he's going to be some sort of sorcerer like his mom. And in the comics, Wiccan actually connects with Doctor Strange and becomes the Sorcerer Supreme. And we know that Wanda is going to be in Doctor Strange 2, number 2, Multiverse of Madness. So we can see some of that starting to kick off here, right? And that's something that I think we have to pay attention to, right? And this statement is pretty revealing, right? Like, he's not feeling comfortable in his own skin, and they are looking for help with Wanda, but she's in bed. As sitcoms grew through the years, we get the trope of the tired housewife having to deal with the kids, and the father is off at work, and then they come home and they have some sort of like spat or whatever, which seems, I think, is going to be the case because Vision is not in the bed with her.
It's like really noisy.
It's really noisy. So
I don't like it.
Resting her eyes.
so she's clearly ignoring them.
As punishment for my reckless evening.
As punishment for my reckless evening. So now we're getting into the Modern Family. We know that, as they go through the years, Modern Family is, of course, more of a modern sitcom, but they're going to be doing more kind of the mockumentary, documentary kind of style of stuff that we would see in the more modern, like the Parks and Recreation, The Office, Modern Family, stuff like that, where we, they're breaking the fourth wall. We get to talk with the characters, who are being recorded. And I think this is going to be a really cool part of this episode. And Elizabeth Olsen has been absolutely nailing her role in each of the sitcoms, like the 1980s and the 50s, every single era, right? And I think that this one is going to be particularly interesting because of this dynamic, right? We're going to get, because we already know that they're playing roles within this false reality, but this is taking it another step further, like her making confessions to a camera and the audience like telling us right here that, she's like, hey, I'm self-quarantining because I had a reckless night the other night. That's a pretty interesting comment, I think.
I plan on taking a quarantine-style staycation.
So she's like letting us know. She's making an admission. She's telling us, right? And that's really important, breaking that fourth wall.
A whole day.
A whole day, right?
Just to myself.
Just to herself.
That'll show me.
And then boom. This is a pretty big reveal, everyone, because look, there's a few things going on here that I think are pretty important. One, the pillow where Vision would probably rest his head, where the husband would be right here, also has hexagons on the pillow. And look at Wanda's pillow. There's clearly a different pattern. It's very artistic. It's got all sorts of different patterns on it. And then we see Wanda. This must be the day right after Halloween, right? Like, this is the day after she hasn't got out of her costume. She's feeling lazy. She's tired. And this is pretty important. This is a pretty big reveal. So yeah, pretty revealing trailer, everyone. What do we think about it? It's really interesting. I thought the kind of the most important things that we saw were the reversion in time with Billy and Tommy's toys. And obviously we know that Vision is not there. When Vision got sucked back into the hex, he's clearly not back yet, right? Because he ventured out, like he went to the outskirts of Westview to try to figure out what's outside of Westview. So Vision isn't back in bed with Wanda yet. And clearly her pillow is a representation that she's she's got more control over the hex, I think. Yeah, it's Paisley, right? It's interesting. The time of work sitcoms as well, as people are mentioning in chat. Absolutely love the mockumentary style. But yeah, really, really interesting trailer, everyone. It doesn't reveal too much of the episode. But one thing I did want to mention is like, you know, she's like, I'm going to spend my whole day alone.
I'm taking a quarantine-style staycation.
Like, you know, spending the most of her day alone, not dealing with the kids and their issues. Clearly, they're having issues too. But one person I think that is going to have a bigger role in this episode is actually going to be Agnes. And I think that she seems to show up at the times when the plot is needed to be pushed along the most. What does everyone think about that? Because I think that a lot of people have written off that she's Agatha Harkness, that she could possibly have some sort of negative role in whatever is going on in Westview. But the thing is like she seems to be acting independently with a lot more knowledge than most of the people in Westview. Like she was like ready to pack her bags and leave. And then Vision obviously touches her and she has a reaction to his abilities. But she knows way, 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 way more than she's letting on, right? Don't we think that? I think so. I think that she's going to have a big impact in this episode because Wanda is saying, well, you know, I'm taking this quarantine, and like Agnes is just going to show up. She like just comes into their house, right? Like she comes unannounced all the time. Like she's like, hey, you need this pineapple for dinner or dessert? And like she brings over lobsters and she's there when the kids, you know, this magically age a bunch of years. And she seems to have a crystal ball, I guess, right? What a bad joke, Kyle. A crystal ball like a witch. See where I'm getting with it? Yeah, I had to give the applause to myself there. She has a crystal ball and she can see the movements of Vision and Wanda, which is pretty interesting considering Hayward is monitoring their movements. We found that out with the program Cataract, the weapons program that he has. I'm curious, chat. I would like to take a little poll and see how many people think that Agnes is still Agatha Harkness. Because I know there was like a lot of these news outlets and a lot of people that were posting like, yeah, this theory is debunked. Like, I'm like, man, there's too many episodes left for us to just write it off, I think. What does everybody think? 1, she is Agatha. 2, she's not. What do we think about that? And then we'll get into some theories too, because I want to talk about who that aerospace engineer could be. Tiana Paris, who plays Monica Rambeau, had something really interesting to say in an interview with comicbook.com. So Tinkerbell thinks that Agnes is still Agatha. Marika thinks that Agnes is still Agatha. Arline Jasmine, that's a hell yeah for JD Redhead. Everybody's on the Agnes is Agatha train. Kay Pertinsky thinks Agnes is Agatha. So, okay, it's a consensus. I think that we're going to get a bigger reveal with her in this episode, right? Because Modern Family has... they are a modern family, right? They have people come in their home. It's a modern family. I kind of feel like what's going on with Wanda and Vision is a modern family. We have all these people who are stuck in the hex and playing these different roles within these sitcoms. So I think that this is going to be, I don't think we're going to see much of Vision this episode. We might not see him till the end of the episode or something, because he just got sucked back into the hex and like he was literally disintegrating, right? Yeah, and she was when Jimmy Woo had the whiteboard. Remember when we had the perspective swap in episode 4? We got to remember that she didn't have an ID on there, and you know that possibly could be because she's a couple hundred or thousands of years old, and she's a witch. I don't know. But yeah, I find it really interesting, her character specifically. But yeah, I really enjoyed the trailer. But let's get into some theories and stuff now. So Tiana Paris, who plays Monica Rambeau, had a conversation with comicbook.com, and she said something very interesting about the Aerospace Engineer. She said, I can't wait to see y'all's reaction when you learn who the Aerospace Engineer is. I feel like there's some really hardcore intuitive fans who are doing well with, there are some smart cookies out there, yeah. So she teased that we are going to be getting a reveal on who the Aerospace Engineer is sooner than later. I have my own theories on who it could possibly be, but my two favorite choices are Reed Richards from the Fantastic Four or Hank McCoy, Beast. That would be another interesting choice. Now, I have heard some people say that it could be someone else. I would love to see your suggestions in chat and your theories on who the Aerospace Engineer is. But the reaction the vibes that I'm feeling from her reaction are it's someone that we either haven't seen in a while that's really popular, because we're getting a Fantastic Four reboot, right, in Marvel Phase 4. And wouldn't it be cool if they gave that person an introduction, the actor that they cast for Reed Richards in WandaVision? I think it would be completely badass. I don't know about you guys. But I also really like the theory that it could be Victor Von Doom before he starts to become one of the main villains of the MCU in this new multiverse. I think that's a really cool theory, right? That would be super cool. A little bit unexpected because we're all expecting it to be someone who's benevolent. You know what I mean? And then we have someone like, Victor Von Doom. He's rich. He's powerful. He's very intelligent. And he could be looking to get some information from this area. Also, the fact that it could be Hank McCoy. I also really like the Sentinel theory that's floating out of there. That, they could be, because one thing that I find super interesting about S.W.O.R.D. is we've got to remember that it was changed from the comics into the MCU. It used to be Sentient World Observation Response Division into Sentient Weapon. We know that this has kind of been the sticking point in the disagreement between Monica, Jimmy, Darcy, and Hayward, right? Like Hayward has really changed the core mission statement of what Maria Rambeau built S.W.O.R.D. up to be, which was manned missions to outer space and observation. And now it's focusing on AI, artificial intelligence, and also weaponry. And I gotta think that, we haven't seen William Stryker for a while, right? Like he's out of the MCU. Bolivar Trask, that type of character. So I'm thinking that, maybe Hayward could perhaps be the next Bolivar Trask, who created the Sentinels, of course, in X-Men Days of Future Past, and obviously William Stryker, hunting mutants, and his son as well. So Hayward could be that type of character. And it would make sense that S.W.O.R.D. eventually becomes controlled by these people who are going to hunt mutants instead of going to seek them out, hunting sentient weapons. And Monica herself is going to become Photon. Like her cells, we got the reveal, are changing at a molecular level in episode 6, right? So that's a pretty big deal, I think. And I'm really, really liking that theory more and more, that, they're creating this environment where, where they're working on Vision, who is like the perfected version of Ultron. And now they're trying to go beyond that by engineering this situation where it's like, Scarlet Witch, because she's eventually going to get that name. Scarlet Witch created this disaster, right? Like she did this in Lagos. We need to create weapons that can fight against mutants, right? And that's a core theme in X-Men. And we got Pietro in the show, right? Pietro is not Pietro, I don't think. We're going to talk about him in a moment. But I just find that super interesting. There's been some great theory crafting as far as like, you know, who Hayward is and who Pietro is. But the Sentinel theory is really cool, I think. The gaming train says if Ultron comes back, this will be the best thing in the MCU. Do you think Hayward could be Ultron? That would be crazy. That would be, woohoo! I'd be all aboard that hype train. I don't know about you, Chad. But yeah, that's something that I find. We know that the X-Men are going to be showing up in Phase 4. There's a rumor that Rogue is going to be an antagonist in Captain Marvel 2. That's pretty interesting, right? Monica Rambeau is going to be in Captain Marvel 2. I'm not saying Rogue is here, but I just find the change from Sword from the comics, Sentient World Observation Response Division, and Sentient Weapon is a pretty big change. Billy is here. Billy and Tommy are obviously having some issues. Their toys are reverting back in time. As technology grows, our thirst for having these phones in our hands, having access to computers, information, the internet grows. And certainly I wouldn't be happy about the situation if I went from Nintendo Switch to, or Nintendo Wii, whatever, Nintendo Wii to, you know, Uno. Even though I love Uno. What do you guys think about that? So that was another pretty interesting review. Who do we think Hayward is, by the way? Let's get some guesses in chat. I've seen some pretty interesting theories out there. You know, me and Chris Hacks were talking about the possibilities the other day of like who Hayward could be. Like, could he be a Skrull? Because we haven't seen the Skrull since the 1990s, which is when the Captain Marvel movie happened. And they could have, their intentions could have changed, but you know, the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, has changed the Skrull Kree War mythology to make the Skrulls more of the victims and the Kree more of the antagonists, right? So that's something that's pretty interesting. Could it be Hydra? I mean, certainly it could. Sure, a strong connection to both Wanda and Pietro. Ultron, that's pretty out there, right? Like Hayward being an Ultron that got away, and then Ultron reclaiming Vision, who was basically the perfected version of Ultron. Like, that's a next level crazy twist. Gaming Train says Hayward is Ultron. Yeah, that would be crazy as hell. I'm still leaning towards the Mephisto Nightmare combo. Like, those could be one character merged together. We know that Nightmare was rumored to be appearing in Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness, and we know Wanda's going to be in it. So whatever happens here at the end of WandaVision is going to connect with the second Doctor Strange movie. So my guess is that Doctor Strange shows up, but what is the connection between the end of WandaVision and then Doctor Strange 2 Multiverse of Madness? Like, what is the event that connects those, you know, WandaVision and Doctor Strange 2 movie? Marika says she believes that Hayward is the Bolivar Trask of the more modern era. That's pretty interesting. That's what I was like, you know, William Stryker, those type of characters are always very interesting. We have characters that are opposed to superheroes. We're going to see a lot of that in Falcon and Winter Soldier, by the way. I did a little reaction yesterday on the Super Bowl trailer. We're going to see Baron Zemo, who says he can't allow superheroes to exist. His work's has basically gone unfinished, and he's got to finish his mission, finish them off. But yeah, it's going to be super interesting. Gaming Train says he hates Wanda because she killed Ultron. Also, he wants Vision body just like Ultron did. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's an interesting theory. One thing I would really like, if we are getting some Ultron shenanigans or just shenanigans in general, I would love to see Hawkeye show up because he and Wanda have a very interesting relationship, right? Wanda experienced an incredible amount of grief after Avengers Endgame, the Infinity War, all of that, the the whole showdown with Thanos, right? Like she lost Pietro versus Ultron because Ultron took him out, but then she lost Vision to Thanos. But we got to remember that Clint had to have a duel with Natasha, Black Widow, for the Soul Stone. And he's going to be undergoing grief, right? And I feel like he's really connected with Wanda and tried to understand her and tried to understand Pietro. He was with her, during Age of Ultron. And Pietro, right? And Pietro was a huge reason why he survived. So I think that, Hawkeye kind of goes in this Ronin road where he becomes more violent. He's killing criminals and stuff like that. And he has a nice redemption arc. And perhaps he could show, I could see him, we're getting Hawkeye in the fall anyways. He could be someone that shows up in WandaVision. One thing I also really liked that I talked about in my Falcon and Winter Soldier Super Bowl trailer breakdown yesterday is how Disney Plus is changing the format of how we absorb Marvel movies and content. But it's expanding on characters like we wouldn't get to see more Sharon Carter, She's popping back up in the Falcon and Winter Soldier plot. And Baron Zemo, he's a great villain, right? They have to strategically choose their 3 or 4 Marvel movies that they're going to have every year, right? One every quarter, where they make their billions of dollars. But some of these stories, they don't get explored. And Disney Plus is the perfect way to do that, right? So we're getting to learn more about these characters that we normally wouldn't get to spend time with. And Hawkeye is one of those characters, even though he's been a main Avenger, he's never been a main featured character like a Thor or a Tony Stark Iron Man or a Cap. He's never got his own movie. And they're going to be doing 6 episodes in the fall. He's going to be treading his successor. That'll be super cool. We'll get to see, obviously, perhaps a redemption arc for him. Him making good for some of the stuff that happened. But yeah, I really love the Hawkeye character. Jeremy Renner's a terrific actor. And just being able to expand on these character stories, even War Machine, I'm not the most interested in that character specifically. That's not, he's not my favorite character, but I still want to see a show about him. Give me 6-7 hours. You know what I mean? Let's explore his character and some of the awesome comic lore. There's so many good stories in the comics that have yet to be explored, and they have to, when they're doing these movie trilogies or they're doing 4 movies to complete a story arc, usually it's max you get 4 or 5 movies. But yeah. So I think that what we could see some more of in the next episode is what Marika is touching on in the chat. More of that exploration that the government knows how dangerous people like Wanda are. And, she's being, right now, she's being framed as the aggressor, right? We've clearly seen that from Hayward in his discussion with all of the sword people. Monica, Jimmy, and Darcy obviously know there's something up with Hayward's actions because he's hiding secret weapons files from them. And he's tracking Vision. There was vibranium decay that was part of that cataract weapons program that they were hacking into and looking at. We're going to probably find out more about that in this episode. But it's super interesting. There's so many ways they could go with this. I think we'll learn more about Hayward in this episode. We'll definitely learn more about Agnes because she's going to have some interactions for sure with Wanda. And Vision isn't around. And you know what I find interesting about it? Vision is always kind of alerting Wanda about hey, why is Agnes so interested in the kids, right? He kind of had that intuition about her, right? And she's that was her in her very first conversation with Wanda. She spoke about childbirth and conception and all of that with Wanda. And now Vision isn't around. She's by herself and the kids aren't even getting a response from Wanda. So I expect Agnes to show up and kind of push that envelope. And she's really interested in those kids. I still think that there's a strong possibility that Agatha and whoever Pietro is and Hayward, I think there's a Mephisto combo working with someone. I think Agatha could be working with Mephisto. It just felt like in the whole last episode with that shark commercial that we got, like someone was presenting an offer to Wanda, she took it, and now we see the consequences of her taking, a bad deal with the devil, essentially. That's pretty straightforward, like I feel like that could be a red herring, but now there's all of these other great theories out there, like the Sentinels, and how Hayward could be part of this program where they're like hunting mutants and they want to do that. We know how mutants in the future are prosecuted and persecuted. You know what I mean? Like the government hates them. So it's going to be really interesting to see where they go with it. The gaming train. Do you think Quicksilver will be in any more episodes? The fact it said guest starring makes me think he won't be. I mean, we can talk about that. This is a bit of a spoiler. So guys, I don't know if you want to hear this or not, but I did a little digging and found something really interesting. And there was a Funko Pop with Pietro Maximoff, and it had quotations and then Pietro Maximoff, and it's this Pietro that we see in WandaVision. Now, the quotation marks seem to suggest that Pietro Maximoff isn't Pietro. So who is he, is the question, right? Who is this guy? He's made so many interesting comments, Unleash Hell, Devil Spawn to Billy and Tommy. Like, that's really weird, I think. Just the comments about how Westview is charming as hell. To me, I interpreted that like he knew what hell was like he had been there before, you know what I mean? So, and I think Evan Peters, oh man, if they make him Mephisto, that would be cool, right? Because Marvel has reacquired the rights of, the Punisher, Jessica Jones, Deadpool, all of these from Fox anyways. And, Sony still has Spider-Man, but now they're starting to reacquire all this stuff like Fantastic Four, X-Men, all of that, right? So they're able to explore some of these, X-Men and Fantastic Four are hugely popular. Spider-Man's probably number one, but you know what I mean? Like now they have the opportunity to explore infinite amount more stories. Marika, Agnes is going to show up to babysit the kids and offer to take kids off Wanda's hands for the day so she can rest. Yeah, she's going to make an offer, I feel like. Right, because Vision isn't going to be around, and he's like alerting Wanda with his intuition, like, hey, like this is kind of off. Like, why is she doing this dance? Why is she spraying lavender around? Why is she doing this? Why is she conveniently showing up? So I think that's pretty weird. What else did I want to talk about? Yeah, I just think the next episode is going to be, I think it's going to be a longer episode too. There's, as sitcoms, as we've gotten closer to our current era, sitcoms, of course, from the 50s and 60s and 70s, episodes became longer and longer as, TV started to evolve in its format. And I think that we still haven't got some of the big reveals yet. There's only 3 episodes left, with the rumor that there could be a 10th special episode as sort of an epilogue, but a lot's they got to wrap up a lot in these next 3 episodes, right? And I'm assuming the final episode is going to be bonkers, right? Like it's going to have like some sort of crazy twist. So we're going to learn a little bit. Like still think they're going to hold a little bit back from the curtain. Then they got to push pedal to the metal with the final 2 episodes, right? Well, they'll probably be, hopefully, fingers crossed, around an hour long. That would be cool. But it's going to be exciting. WandaVision has been so good. And by the way, everyone, it's only a month until Falcon and Winter Soldier drops. It's only 4 weeks. That's not that long. Kai the Kunoichi says, well, guess I'm staying up till 3 a.m. Yeah, I'm probably going to head to bed early so I can wake up early, watch the episode, and start my, writing for my reaction and all of that. Get prepped for tomorrow's video. Because I've usually been putting my videos out on Saturday, my WandaVision breakdowns and reactions, but I want to get my reaction out tomorrow, probably by tomorrow afternoon. So I'll be waking up a little bit earlier tomorrow and talking about WandaVision. But yeah, it's been super fun so far. I've been loving WandaVision. It's been an absolute blast. I expect that this episode will be just as good or even better than each previous episode. Like with each episode that we get, with each new episode, it's just got better and better, right? I think so anyways. I don't know about you guys, but I've just loved it. Because we get to learn more and more and more and more each episode, right? One thing that I do want to point out for chat, we need 2 more people to hit our goal of 10 people to hit that join button before the end of the month. And we have 2 new Marvel emojis. For those that do hit that join button to support the channel, you can sign up for $4.99 a month to support the channel. I do extra bonus content. I do exclusive polls to decide what kind of theories and what kind of topics I'm going to be discussing in videos. But yeah, there's going to be new badges. And if we get 2 more people to hit that join button, we get to add another emoji. So that'd be super cool. If anybody wants to support the channel, hit that join button or hit that like button. But if we join, we need 2 more people to get another Marvel. And I'll do another Marvel emoji. I'm not sure. You guys can vote and pick and chat. I think that would be fun. Kate Bertinsky says, but we also have the sitcom plus the sword stuff, so it kind of works itself out. Yeah, now they have, you know, two sides, and they can focus, you know, kind of going back and forth, which is going to be really fun. I'm excited to see what happens with Darcy this episode because, you know, she got stuck in the hex, unfortunately, right? Like she's, it would be really funny if they did the two broke girls Easter egg and they made her a waitress in this episode. I think that would be dope. I mean, it's the same. I mean, it would be the same timeline, right? Oh man, that would be super funny. We get the modern family stuff, and then yeah, we get the 2 broke girls Easter egg too. Yeah, something big is going to happen soon. Like I think the big reveal tomorrow we'll get a lot. I think we're going to get, my prediction is we're going to get a lot more information on Agnes. And I think the people that kind of walk back the, I don't know if she's Agatha last week. Yeah, for sure. She's Agatha. I think what we'll do too is we'll do some more theory videos after this episode. I'll do my initial review / reactions / breakdown. We'll do all of that, but I'll do some more theory videos this weekend too. We have the Marvel podcast on 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so make sure you set your notification for that. I'll probably set that up Friday night so you guys can just have a link early, so that way you guys can just hit that notification bell and you can be notified for Sunday. But that'll be a super fun discussion. Hacks Dogma, if you haven't checked him out, he's making excellent WandaVision content. Gaming Train says, is Vision not in this episode? I'm not sure. It's possible that he's not, right? Because like he got pretty messed up at the end of the last episode. What does everybody think? Is Vision going to show up in this episode or no? Tinkerbell says, Kate Bertinsky, yes, if it's true, the last 3 episodes are 1 hour. We will get a sitcom plus additional action outside of the hex. Yeah, it's going to be super great, everyone. I'm super excited about it. And we're only a few hours away. Like, it's 7 p.m. right now. What, you know, got like 8 hours until the episode, So yeah, everyone, this has been super fun. I thought we would do a fun little live stream where we take a look at the promo trailer and then talked about a few theories, getting hyped for tomorrow's episode. I appreciate everyone that has joined me this evening. Of course, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe and hit that like button if you're enjoying this content. I will have my episode breakdown tomorrow after the WandaVision episode comes out, and we'll do some theory videos. Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll have the Marvel podcast with Hags Dogma. And yeah, lots more WandaVision videos and Falcon and Winter Soldier videos coming out. There's going to be lots of Marvel content here on the channel. So yeah, if you want to get in touch with me, you want me to talk about a specific theory or a topic, I got my Twitter and my Instagram in the description of the video, or you can leave a comment and tell me what kind of content you want to hear me talk about on the channel. Thanks for joining, everyone. I really, really appreciate it. I will see you tomorrow in the WandaVision episode breakdown. Have a great night, everyone.